Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today we are looking at the Lenovo IdeaPad Slim. It's an affordable, under $200 US laptop. It's also compact and very lightweight, but honestly, even at that price point, this is not going to be a good machine for a lot of people. In fact, I struggled a little bit with this review because in my reviews, I try to mention who the machine would be good for and who it wouldn't be good for. And I can only find one case where you might want to get this machine, which I will mention at the end of the video. If you have any questions or comments along the way, leave those down in the comments section below, and let's get into the review of the Lenovo IdeaPad Slim. So like I mentioned before, this is a lightweight and compact laptop. The screen size is 14 inches with a resolution of 1366 by 768. It is not a great screen. The colors are washed out. The viewing angles are not very good, but it's kind of on par with a laptop for this price point. I've seen much worse, but I've also seen better. It's just kind of an average screen. So inside the machine on the unit I'm reviewing, we have an AMD A6 9220E processor with the Radeon R4 integrated graphics. This is a pretty slow dual core processor. It's also got 4 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of eMMC storage. That eMMC storage is also pretty slow, and 4 gigs of RAM, in my opinion, is not enough for Windows 10. So this laptop also has a webcam, which is complete garbage, but it is there in a pinch if you need it. As far as ports, it does have a decent selection of ports. On the left side, we have the barrel power jack, 2 USB 3.1 ports, a full-size HDMI, and an SD card reader. Then around on the right-hand side, the only port we have there is a headphone and mic jack. Now, all those ports work great. There's no issue in that, and the port selection on this machine is actually pretty decent. In addition to the ports, it's also got Bluetooth 4.2 and 802.11 AC Wi-Fi. As far as upgradability, absolutely none. I cracked this thing open hoping there might be a slot to add a M.2 drive or something like that. There is nothing. It's very bare bones inside this machine. So let's talk about some of the pros of this machine. Like I said, it's very light and compact. It has a great port selection. The keyboard is pretty decent to type on, and the trackpad is very responsive. Other than that, this machine doesn't have a whole lot else going for it. That processor, that dual core A6 9220E is pretty slow. It's only got 4 gigs of RAM, and that storage is very slow, and that affects just about everything on this machine. So I tried running some synthetic benchmarks, and honestly, after letting it run for a little while, I completely gave up and just trashed that idea. There was absolutely no point in trying to run those benchmarks on this machine. It's so slow. Day-to-day performance is depending on what you want to do with it. Launching applications is pretty slow, and you can't really multitask too well in this. The 4 gigs of RAM is not sufficient. That eMMC storage is pretty slow for swapping things out. So if you are only using one application and a browser with maybe 1 or 2 tabs in it, it's usable. Things work fine as long as you keep that in mind, some of the limitations. Multiple tabs, multiple applications, multiple desktops, it goes right out the window, and the performance just completely tanks and becomes almost unusable. You're waiting so long for things to load. So another category added into all my reviews is gaming, and as you guessed it, gaming was not very good on this machine. I tried a few different games, and really basic games, old games, and games like RimWorld that are just 2D. They work okay. RimWorld actually worked pretty well on this, but then I tried Oxygen Not Included, another 2D game, and it was unplayable. I did try Minecraft. I tried both the Windows 10 version and the Java version. Windows 10 version was actually playable on this machine. The Java version, absolutely not playable at all, even with everything set to the absolute lowest level. Now, as far as streaming games to this machine through a streaming service or something like Steam in-home streaming, it should work fine for that. It's got a pretty solid 802.11 AC Wi-Fi. I didn't have any dropouts or anything with that Wi-Fi. So if you're going to be streaming stuff from another machine, that might be an option for you on this computer. So here's my recommendation section, and as you may have guessed, I would not recommend this for the vast majority of people. If you are thinking about getting this, you're probably going to be using it for basic computer needs anyway, so you would be much better off getting a new Chromebook and using that for the basic computing. Or if you definitely want something that runs Windows, look at eBay or something like Craigslist or Gumtree and buy a used machine. You can get a much, much more powerful used machine for the same price as this machine new. So at the beginning of the video, I mentioned there is one situation where you may want to consider buying this, and that is if you're going to wipe it out and load Linux on it. I tried a few different Linux distributions, and it vastly improves the performance of this machine. You're still not going to be able to do video editing very well, and you're not going to be able to play a lot of games, but for the general use, it dramatically increased the performance of just using your computer for word processing, browsing the web, just general PC usage. It works much better in Linux because it's not as much a resource hog as Windows 10 is. So if you're going to buy this machine to wipe it and load Linux, you may want to consider it. Otherwise, buy a used machine or a Chromebook. Like I said, if you have any questions or comments on anything I talked about in the video, leave those down in the comment section below. If you found this useful and informative, hit that thumbs up. And if you really liked it, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for stopping by.